Thank you for waiting, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to start the press conference. Today's conference will be done by the Chairman Kurokawa and Ms. Hachiska, originally from Okuma Town of Fukushima Prefecture. I myself am from the Secretariat. My name is Ms. Mori. I'm with the Secretariat. Today, after the NAIIC the meeting, we had the town meeting. So we would like to have a press conference for both. And the summary would be given for the both meetings by Dr. Kurokawa, the chair of NAIIC, and then open the floor for questions. So, the Chairman Kurokawa, please. Thank you. It seems that there seems to be a rather unusual the distance and the structure of the conference, but let me explain. Today we have visited the Nihonmachi city, where the Namiya town citizens have evacuated. For the 10th NAIIC meeting, we had the witnesses, including the Mayor Baba of Namiya town and others, for their statements. And during the town meeting, we have had the inputs, the comments from the Namiya town people. How they have evacuated, instruction given, that information for how they need to be evacuated at the very critical moment, at the initial stage. Neither the central government, nor the prefectural government, nor the TEPCO have given any information or instruction, and but they have to evacuate on their own. And for the disaster, the preparedness, the drills, that it should be made the more realistic. And for those who have been exposed, for the children who have been exposed to radiation, that the national government should properly install a system to have good control. And as for the health effects, be it the radiation exposure and the lowering of the immune system, that the national government should also give consideration for the mental aspects as well. And for evacuation, the people have continued to live in their temporary housing as well as shelters for more than 1 year. And because of earthquake and tsunami, there should not be the same system as compared to those evacuees from earthquake and tsunami, that a separate the system and law should be established for the evacuees because of the accident of the nuclear power plant. And a half-cooked the process would mean ignoring the Japanese people. And for the municipalities, where the nuclear power plants are located, the people of Namiya town have asked so that proper system will be put in place, that never again any other communities would have to go through the same suffering. And those people who have been affected by the nuclear power accident, the people in the Namiya town, what were the disaster response, and how the safety here has been secured and ensured. Without such proper measures, there should be no safety of the nuclear power plants, and that has been accurately being indicated by all the people. And it's been more than a year since the accident, and the administration, as done by the national government, what are the true feeling of the people that have been conveyed to us. In the previous NAIIC meeting, we had the current the president of NISA have been a witness, and it was clear from the question and answers, even after that we have experienced the Fukushima nuclear power plant, in the government and in the administrative the community for regulating the nuclear power plant, that they would not like to have the Japanese people never again to go through this similar experience. That important perspective is missing, be it Prime Minister office or be it the bureaucrats at Kasumigaseki, even after they have experienced the nuclear power plant accident as well as the earthquake and tsunami. It seems that the process have not been changed at all, their mindset have not changed at all. As I listened to the comments from the Namiya town citizens, whether the government would be credible enough by the people. We have heard some strong words from the citizens. Once again, it seems that the distance between the government and bureaucrats and the Japanese people, on the other hand, seems to be far apart. So the Prime Minister office, the bureaucracy, and the distance with the Japanese people, we would like to shorten the distance as much as possible. And that, I believe, is our mission, and we would like to realize that. And as we have visited the affected areas, and as I have gone through the town meeting, this is the second time, and we will have another town meeting tomorrow, as we have heard the direct voice from the affected people. That seems to have been the awareness and perception and our impression after having heard the direct voice of the people who have been affected. We have also conducted questionnaire surveys of the affected people, and we would like to convey the real voice and comments from the affected area directly to the audience. And we are seriously grappling with these efforts. And to the government, we would like to have the intensive deliberation to be made at the National Diet, so that we would no longer be able should lose the confidence and trust of the people, including the people overseas. Thank you.
We would now like to take questions. Please raise your hand and state your name and affiliation before asking your question. The gentleman in the middle, please. My name is Fujita. I'm freelance. Even after 1 year, in this way, the citizens have anger, and also they are feeling significant stress. That was very shocking for me. But having listened to the citizens, it seems that in terms of the request to NAIC, there were some requests that go beyond your mandate. For example, policy recommendations. I believe that is not within your scope. Now, Chairman Kurokawa, in the report by NAIC, how are you going to manage this? For example, how healthcare or medical care is to be provided? Are you going to also include policy recommendations in the final report? Thank you very much for that question. Before answering this question, I would like to mention that 181 people participated in this town meeting. I wanted to say that before I respond to your question. Now, many people were concerned about the impact of entrusted in us is the work of investigation, and also make policy recommendations. What kind of policies are viable? So apart from where how we're going to proceed with that, that's going to be very important. I believe it should be subject to diet deliberations, and convincing policies on the part of citizens should be implemented. A process is required to reach this goal. The diet will be deliberating after the report is provided. And I think that is the work of the parliamentarians. And in the open diet sessions, this matter should be discussed. And I believe that steadfast efforts will have to be made to achieve this goal.
Any other comments or questions? The person in the front row, the right person. Nico Nico, my name is Tsukada, Nico Nico Video. The local residents participated in this meeting. You listened to their requests and comments. I'm pretty sure you are mulling over what you had heard. At this moment, are there any policies or recommendations that you could come up with? If you have, please share those with us. We're still in the midst of discussion in compiling a report from various perspectives. We are still investigating. That's one, and we are entrusted by the National Diet to do the investigation, and so we would like to seek answers to that. And in June, we intend to submit the report, and we are really concentrating on that work. And we have been very busy doing this. Thank you.
This person in the third row with the beret. I'm from a monthly magazine from Facta. My name is Miyajima. In the discussion today, what Dr. Sakiyama mentioned, and also Mr. Tanaka has also mentioned, to the Futaba County, the health, the notebook, health monitoring, the notebook. It seemed that already the government is studying on this. So, in terms of policy recommendation, could you perhaps give us more of the specifics? So that I think it should be done. That needs to be done. So do you think that that would be one main pillar of your recommendation? No, I believe those were personal views of the two members of the NAIC. When we are to come up with the recommendation for the whole commission, we need to sort out what should be actually included in the report. And I would like to ask your support. And please look at the final report. Thank you.
Now, the person in the front row.
One of the issues that came through today was the question of the health of children. And there were various requests put to you with regard to finding, as the previous question said, policy recommendations with respect to the health of children. But it's very surprising to me that things are not being done already. Why aren't the children, I mean, you're a doctor, could I say, why are the children not being examined on a regular basis now? Aren't you missing vital time if you wait until after the report is finished?
I thank you for your question. ありがとうございます。その質問。聞こえ
Thank you very much for that question. Can you hear me? Thank you very much for that question. Now, to your question, I believe that's a very important point that you have mentioned. However, what we have been entrusted is not to stop what is being conducted now. The citizens, with respect to Fukushima, the policies that are being implemented now, the views of the people and how it should be conveyed to the government is not cannot be done because we have to submit the report in June. And as a personal view, I can demand that, but I will be questioned regarding my qualifications in putting forth that proposal. So I'm refraining from making such a request at this given time.
Nihon Keizai Shimbun, Uematsu is my name. Uematsu is my name. At the outset, Mr. Chairman, concerning the STAR meeting, after this meeting, there was a difference in the atmosphere between the bureaucrats and the Prime Minister's office and here. Would you like to be more specific? What was your feeling? What did you feel? And also on the same matter, Ms. Hachisuka, could you please share with us how you felt? First, it's not just for today, but in the series at NAIC, all the meetings have been made public. So how do you feel? That's what we would like to know. How do you feel? How does the media report? The way media reports can be well reflected in how the people of Japan feel. So it's the same in the last meeting concerning nuclear power. Very complicated energy operation. To what extent can it be done? Even in the UK, there have been some changes. The international community, the world has changed. The awareness in the world has been changing. For instance, there are many countries, and they are saying that the safety culture is so important, and they're coming up with certain measures. IAEA is one example concerning other countries. When we invited Dr. Mezarv, that's what he said, and it's the same in the UK as well, that awareness, consciousness about culture between the here at the local community and at the bureaucrats at the NISA, there are some differences, and I think that has been repeatedly pointed out. The safety and health of people, that's the most important thing, and I'm pretty sure you have been feeling that as well. That's where we feel the major disconnect. Well, of course there are other technicalities, but again, concerning safety, perhaps I should call that philosophy or the awareness of the government. I think there's a disconnect or the gap. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you. Yes, I do feel the same. I'm a member of the NAIC as well as being an evacuee myself. So perhaps the government do not have a good understanding of the position and feelings of the evacuees like us. We have heard the comments from the NISA. They say that they were too inward-looking and they are doing their soul-searching, but still that we are forced to be in this position. They are trying to forget that and trying to move forward. They are trying to leave us behind, and this is something very odd. This is wrong, I believe. And what is wrong? Where is odd? I cannot really express myself that well, but I have sense of frustration. I have sense of helplessness, that in reality there are so many evacuees still existing, and I hope that the government would look at this reality and think about us more. Sorry for not being able to express myself better. What Ms. Hashiska would like to say is that in any game you have defense, so within the site, not just control but the barrier, the defense barriers. You have to have the multi-layered defense, and how can you let the people evacuate and try to protect the health of those people? And that perspective may have been missing and lacking, and that is what I would like to call the lack of safety culture, proper safety culture. Any other questions or comments?
The second lady, please. Mainichi newspaper. My name is Isani. In Namiya today, in terms of evacuation, it was mentioned that they evacuated without the knowledge about the radiation dose. That there is high radiation dose. In terms of investigation going forward, do you have a certain focus that you're going to change, or do you think that the direction you're pursuing is sufficient? Have this meeting has had an impact? Now, as we grow, we are beset with different challenges, but time is very limited. There is a constraint of time. And therefore, as I have repeated several times, now, we have been given this responsibility by the Diet that is based on law, and we have therefore, and this is the first time in history, and therefore for the issues that you have mentioned, if the prevailing view is that a similar process should be followed, that will mobilize the Diet.
The lady in the front row, please. In relation to this, Mori from Asahi newspaper, regarding the 6 months period after, while you're still in the midst of deliberation, do you think that 6 months was an appropriate time? If you are following my blog, since the last spring I've been saying this, since the last spring. Is NAIIC considered one of the most important things in the international community, the very first month? This is really my personal feeling, and I think it's a very difficult thing. But if you look at world history, for instance, mad cow disease in the UK, I have been talking about this in my blog and elsewhere. Independent, if possible, international task force should be established. That's what I've been saying since the beginning. And for the first time, we were able to have this because there are many rules rather than international rule. Perhaps we could adhere in Japan. Why is this the first time in the constitutional history? I hope that many people will pay attention to that. 6 months, would that be all right? Of course, we cannot find answers to all the questions, but regarding this process, the open process, in the informational era, the government, company, each institution, for its trust, to gain trust, it's very important, and that's the thing that I would like to broadly share with the people. And that's what I've been saying from the very beginning. The necessity of extension, don't you think that it's necessary? In this process, if it's necessary, can we do this? Is there a will of the people? Without the will of the people, the politics will not move. Another question. After 1 year, we have these things. Only after 1 year, we are seeing all these things. So again, that's another problem. I said that this should be established much earlier. Technicality issues, technical matters, we will find out. In the United States National Academy has been given a task commissioned by the Parliament, the 2-year project. It's an internationally important issue. That's why they come up with this process. So in the future, people will find out. So regarding this process, how things are reflected, of course, that's to be expected.
Thank you. In the fourth row, please. My name is Ishika from Kahoku Shinpo. I have questions for both of you. Firstly, I would like to ask Ms. Hachiska, from the audience today, as well as from the witnesses, the restart of Oi nuclear power plant, there has been very harsh views being heard for the government's decision. I understand that you are from Okuma Town. I would like to ask your response to the government decision. To the chairman, my question is, from the audience, there was a request that a certain recommendation should be reflected into the report. So do you plan to include in the report your recommendation for the restart? Now, for the restart, unless all the different the problems are cleared, I personally believe that it may be too early, premature, not in a formal position of the member of NAIC, but more from a personal, individual point of view. I think it is premature. As many the victims have not been rescued yet, and NISA have not complied with the many rules and the decisions, including the seismic aspects. And I'm afraid that something similar may happen once again, and evacuees like myself may happen once again. I am afraid of that. Rather than looking at technical aspects, what I would like to see the government to establish, what is being necessary to be done right now. When the accident again happens, what is necessary? Whether all the equipments and systems necessary are already installed at the Oi nuclear power plant or not, that should be scrutinized before coming to the decision to restart the reactor. Now, for myself, as I have mentioned at the previous press conference, is it a go or no go for the Oi nuclear power plant? I don't think I am in a position to be able to say so. What are the safety standards? What is the philosophy behind the safety standards for the nuclear power plant? I have questioned this, and the reason for that is I don't think I'm in a position to say. So I don't think the nature of the report is to look at the individual case. So it should be more general, like what should be and how to gain the trust and the credibility of the Japanese people. And through the diet process, whether what we write into the report that would be reflected into the debate, ourselves alone would not be enough. We need to have the public support. I don't think what we would say in report would directly be reflected into the policy, the making. That should be deliberated in the diet properly.
on the fourth row, please. Kaoku Simple, my name is Suenaga. And now with the Prime Minister's Office and Kasumigaseki, there was mention that there is a difference in interest between the major cities and the actual site here. But Fukushima Daiichi was generating energy for Tokyo people. How are you going to utilize the proposal made in this regard? I understand where they are coming from, and 1 year has passed, and people have started to write books as well as create documentaries. It means that this process, how this is going to be linked to the next step for the people of Japan, that is of utmost importance. I have written this, and somebody has mentioned this as well. 1 year has passed, and between the central government and between the central area and the local area, the feeling of imminence is different. Whether it is being maintained or not in the urban areas is a concern for people here. It was expressed here today in this meeting. So how are we going to convey this? That is the question. That is the reason why we are making this public meeting.
It's almost time. Those of you who have not yet asked questions, among those of you, so this will be the last question. You haven't asked a question before, right? Yes, please. Fukushima Miyu newspaper. My name is Kuwata. To Chairman, and also to Ms. Hachisuka, I would like to ask you a question. Today at Nihonmachi, you target Namiya-machi people, and tomorrow at Aizu-Wakamatsu, you will have people from Okuma. Regarding these people from Okuma, that's where it's located. The plant is located. I'm pretty sure you will listen to comments from a different perspective. Where the nuclear power plant is still located, so I'm pretty sure that will be reflected. And Ms. Hachisuka, that's where you originally come from. So what are your feelings at the moment? Allow me to answer that question before Chairman does. Regarding what I have for tomorrow, every day I have certain feeling, and this time I think the voices will be heard directly by the members of the NAIIC. Today, from people from Namiye, I really couldn't agree more with them. The nuclear power plant should not degenerate, make people unhappy. And what about our children? Namiye, the Okuma, where the power plant is located, there is some difference. But for evacuees, I think there are no barriers. So rather than today, tomorrow, to all the members of the NAIIC, there will be so many cries directly voiced from the people of Okuma. So in the bus, as we move to that location, and we would like to talk to other members of the NAIIC.
Thank you. So this will be the very last one. So this will be truly the last question. My name is Yamamoto. I'm a freelance journalist. I was expecting that this question would be asked, but since the question was not asked, let me ask the question. So with the residents' evacuation, this is something directly to do with the evacuation of the residents. So if I could once again ask you, Mayor Baba have said that radioactive substances, to what level of dose and at what time the information to have been provided, should have been provided, so that as a mayor he could have made a proper decision. And Chairman, I believe you have asked the question several times, paraphrasing your question. And Mayor Baba said that at the 5:44 in the morning on the 12th of March, through television, he was given the information, which means that the television at the municipal government office, so that emergency, the power source has been utilized so that the minimum level of power was ensured so that information could be provided. But it was rather strange that Mayor Baba, for the first time, the information was given at 5:44 in the morning of the 12th. But even before that, every Japanese person was able to have the information that nuclear power plant was in danger, may it be in a truly a serious situation. It has already been reported again and again through different media. So it seems rather strange that it was first time at 5:44 that Mayor Baba, that was the first time he learned that something was happening with the nuclear power plant. I thought that was quite strange. So, Chairman, if I may ask you, since you have repeatedly asked the question, so what may have been your impression of that? I understand that this was a question addressed to the chairman, but I am the affected person myself, that the nuclear power plant have met with an accident. That was a little bit after 6 o'clock in the morning, after the evacuation order was given. Before that, I was not able to have that information at all myself. So that was on the 12th, a little bit after 6 o'clock for Okuma Town. Yes, it was the morning of the 12th after the evacuation order was given. What about the TEPCO people? On the 11th, right after the accident has happened, at the very early stage, that they have already informed the family members of the staff, and the children have already evacuated. So I'm sure you have been given this information now. So as a resident, as a citizen, Ms. Hachiska, that the nuclear power plant may be in a serious situation. It was only in the morning of the 12th, right? That was the first time. No information was coming before that. Yes, it was around 6 o'clock, a little bit after 6 o'clock. So I have been pressing on this. What is the relevance and meaning of that? People may have a different interpretation. Well, they were told that no accident would come, but then you had earthquake and tsunami, so it was chaotic. That I do understand, but what is the relevance of that? What is the meaning of that? That evacuation order was given, and where should they go for evacuation? No proper instruction was given. So everything can be seen correctly on the retrospectively, but what they're saying and trying to tell you that no proper information was given, even though the TEPCO person was coming every day before that, but they did not give the proper information. About Namie Town, I understand that you had dosimeter available. What about that? So the dosimeter, would you check your dosimeter always? This is a new question, but you can do your research. You can do your investigation yourself. This is the end of the conference. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming and bearing with us for a long time. Thank you very much. This is the end of the conference. So tomorrow we will have the town meeting with the citizens of Okuma Town at Aizu University starting from 9 o'clock in the morning. Thank you.